we asked Tom this earlier. What's the when you have a talent like Jalen Lucas, but you also have a freshman in a body like he has? I mean, what's the challenge of getting him in your offense, a tempo offense, and obviously he can make plays with the ball in his hands. But what's the challenge about working him in the way that you guys want to play?
Yeah, I think for us is that we're all very aware that Jalen's a really good player. I think early in this, when you're kind of have a full boat and you got DJ Matthews and Cam and we've got other good tailbacks, Sean Shivers, Josh Henderson. There's a little bit of a growth curve there from a pass protection standpoint. But as he continues to grow and develop, he's definitely going to become a larger piece of what we do. And what we've seen in practice, especially through fall camp and spring football, even when he first got here as a midterm guy, is a little bit of what we witnessed on Saturday. He's hard to get on the ground. He's a guy that's going to be a great space touch player. And while those other skills develop, run the ball between the tackles, pass protection, things that a young player has to continue to learn, we'll feature some of those other skills.
What are the challenges? I know that I talked earlier, and just following up on that, with Josh Henderson and Jalen, guys like that. What are the challenges now? You've schemed and planned all spring, all summer, and into the fall, but now when things start to change, how difficult is it for you to change that scheme and use the multiple players, the different players that you didn't see coming on?
Yeah, I mean, that's, fortunately, I've been in some positions where we've been here before. At Maryland, we had to play 4 quarterbacks my first year, 5 quarterbacks my second year. And when you play big-time football, and we're definitely playing big-time football, I mean, that's something that you expect. Is there's going to be a little bit of a revolving door in terms of personnel, who's available, who's not available, who's at full speed, who's not full speed, and ultimately that's our job, is to make sure that we've got the best grouping of 11 that we can have on the football field, and that we're putting them in a position to make a play. And so, that's a job that every coach in the country has to deal with, especially as you get, to the meat of your schedule.
Coach, over the past couple games, it seems we've really seen the running backs used in the screen game a lot. Is that more of an element that you guys have kind of added in to get them the ball more with the struggles in the run game, or is that a wrinkle that's always been there and just really been emphasized more? Yeah, I mean, it's always there. We always have 2 or 3, 11-man or action screens that we have to try to get those guys touches in space to alleviate pass rush, and more than anything else, just you can manufacture touches that way, and that's a way where at least this ball is going here or here, and putting the right guys in the right place. But our O-line has done a nice job in the screen game throughout the year, and something we got to continue to be good at.
I guess following on with the screen game, is that something that if you can kind of get more of it, and I understand some of it's opponent to opponent, but I guess get Connor in a bit more of a rhythm with throws like that sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. And again, there's no substitution for easy completions. And we've got to continue to do that, continue to manufacture easy throws. Screens are a way to do that. And as the last couple of games have gone, we've seen more and more man coverage to make us make more competitive throws with people around people, and so we got to continue to find ways each week to generate easy completions and protect Connor as well.
Nebraska was really struggling to stop the run going into that game. You had 18 carries that went to running backs during the game. 44 throws. Just where does that ratio come from when you have a team that's struggling to stop the run as much?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing for us is I think they knew their issue, and there was a large change between weeks 1 and 3 and this one. In this one they had a bunch of people in there. They were doing everything they possibly could to always outnumber us in a run game, and the few times they didn't, we had explosive runs. And so I think from a box numbering standpoint, early in the football game, there was a commitment, you are not going to run the foot. They knew where their problems lied, and they had a little bit of an open week, and so there was a pretty significant change early in the football game as opposed to what they had done, and credit to those guys. They did a nice job putting a plan together to, stop the run game, and making us spit that ball other places, and at times it was profitable for us. When we were even-headed, there were some explosive runs there, but the majority of the game they were going to do everything they could from just a pure numbers standpoint, to make us throw the football.
Hey, Coach. I'm wondering how you feel your offense adjusted to the man coverage that Nebraska was playing.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately not good enough. I mean, we did not win the football game. We did not score one more point than they had. And so, therefore, it's not good enough. And there were times we looked really good. And there were times that we had some, whether it be, drops, whether it be, not putting the ball in the hands, I mean, there were, some issues there, but, ultimately, at the end of the day, it wasn't good enough. But there was some good, and there's plenty of room for improvement.
Hey, Coach, I just want to check. The offensive line grouping that you had positionally on Saturday, is that likely what you're going to have moving forward, or do you see guys like Sales and others maybe moving in there?
Yeah, I would say, we've got to get through today, final injury reports, finding out, exactly what we have and what is available. But again, there's always going to be competition. I thought Zach Carpenter having to play guard, knowing that his snap hand is down, I thought he did a nice job. I thought Kadick for his first chance, first time really ever playing a bunch of center, did a nice job. And then the rotation between Khalil and Tim was good at times. And so I would think, just as we continue to add competition and development between, Haggard, Sales, and Parker, I would think that all those guys will be required to play at some point.
I guess a philosophical question, but in terms of how you want this offense to operate, kind of some of the air raid principles and things, when you are getting outnumbered in the box, what's the best way to beat that? Because I imagine it's not as simple as just, tuck in more tight ends, and then suddenly you can't do some of what you want to do in the pass game. How do you want this offense to beat that?
Yeah, I mean, and again, I don't want to make light of the question because that is a fantastic question because that's something that we deal with on a daily basis, and no different than when you're an option football team, when you're if you can't block all of them, you got to read somebody. And so the ability to create, to get your numbers back. If we're a 5-on-5, well, that means we're going to have to manage somebody at the quarterback position, or we're going to have to create, read keys. We're going to have to, put the quarterback in harm's way a little bit in terms of reading a sixth defender. If we got six, reading a seventh defender. And so those are things that we've done before, and we're probably going to have to do more of as we move forward.
How have you seen Anderson Kobe progress throughout the season, basically? What do you like about what he does?
Done a really nice job, and he has continued to develop, not only as from the technique and fundamental standpoint as a player, but, just system knowledge, system awareness. Had a couple big catches, that were really big for us at the time when they happened. And a guy that I think his role will grow as the season goes.
I've noticed that when you go to the Wildcat formation with Donovan, it's been at kind of very different, points in the field and points in the game. I'm wondering, do you go into games saying, we're going to throw that look at them in, this certain spot, or are those kind of calls you make based on what you're seeing on the other side?
No, I think for Donovan, it's always, he has played quarterback. He's an unbelievable ball in hand player. He's a physical runner. And then when we got backed up down there, obviously we were on probably the inch line, had knocked that thing out, got knocked out to the 4, and just trying to find a way to get Hat back, and knock that thing out to the 6 or the 7 so we could have a serviceable third down play. So whether it's in the open field, whether it's wherever, just, and as alluded to the question earlier, how can you get your hats back, using a guy like Donovan, and, that helps us get that done. Also defensively as you go, I think the one thing that where Donovan helps is there is a track record of him playing quarterback, throwing forward passes. So it's not just like some places where I've been where you put somebody else back there and it just creates even more problems for yourself, knowing that Donovan is to throw the ball and he's on the ball well in games before. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.